Hello, dear friends. Moscow Hawk speaking again. So now there are 20 years since this notorious moment took place in the United Nations Security Council that Mr. Colin Powell, well, he passed away already. This gentleman, he was shaking the Ampule with his right hand, most probably, with some white powder, claiming that this was proof of the plan and that Iraq, Mr. Saddam Hussein, was possessing weapons of mass destruction and planning to establish and to do more such things, So, of such things. But this all turned out to be fake. It was lie. It was built on sand. But eventually, more than 1 million Iraqis were killed in this war. Saddam Hussein was hanged by US soldiers. And the region is in blood and fire. Iraq is in ruins, more or less. But the oil continues to flow to Western huge companies, So in the Ukrainian theater, it's still the same as to the front lines. The decisive battle is taking place around Bakhmut, Artyomovsk. The Russians claimed 1 week ago, they claimed approximately to have encircled it, to have surrounded the Ukrainian forces, which are showing harsh resistance. So it seems not to be true by the Russians, but it's my impression that the Generalitet, the generals, the army, Shoigu, Gerasimov, they are planning to put new forces in the warfare before the tanks from Germany, England, and America, Abrams, Leopards, and Challengers tanks come over to Ukraine, and at least to take the eastern part till the Dnieper River. Maybe they would go up to Kiev or other regions. That's not clear now, but the mood in the Russian society is quite nationalistic, military, and the support of army is quite much, and no protest movement is taking place anyway. So I got some comments from Icelandic viewer Þorsteinn Óttar Bjarnason. He is a friend of mine as well. His name is OB. That's his name in Thailand anyway. But he's claiming that there is no freedom of speech and protests in Russia. That's pretty clear. As to the West, they even closed the president, the Twitter account. And if you express your thoughts in the West, in the media, in social media, social accounts, and so on, they can close you down. This is the same situation around, but in Russia, after this SMO, special military operation, began, they established censorship, that's right, in Russia, and no protests are allowed anymore. So he also claims that this beginning of this operation of Putin is built on sand, of no reason, and that it's just like that. But we have to take into consideration the geopolitical situation, the situation of Russia, of course, when this geopolitics and the NATO countries are already came back to Russia, and Ukraine was supposed to go into NATO. And the main thing maybe is coup d'etat in France, putsch in German, and when the government of Viktor Fyodorovich Yanukovych was pushed away in this coup in February-March 2014. Then, unfortunately, right-wing, death squads, somebody calls them, military forces, private sector, Aidar, Azov, Tornado, all kind of names they have. Some of them they are praying to Ásatru, to the pagan gods of my country, Iceland, mistakenly. But they are nationalists, and they look at Russians as Untermenschen, like people of third sort, or which should be utilized. So they have been killing those people in masses. And now we have news of American missionaries, for example, executing pro-Russian elements. For example, in Kherson, some Americans were flattering that he gave a Russian the last smoke, and then he killed personally and his squad 16 pro-Russian persons in Kherson. This even was mentioned on CNN. And those words are from Margareta Simonian, the director of Russia Today. But it's quite clear that the Ukrainian, I doubt that the Russian state forces, the state army, is deliberately killing civilians in eastern Ukraine, which they claim are countrymen, Russians. Well, those regions were Russian-speaking. 100% even, and more or less, yes, okay. But some missiles landed on houses and people, of course, casualties, but some of those were definitely Ukrainian anti-aircraft and air defense missiles. But I don't think the generals of Russian army, they demand or order Russians to kill civilians there. But I've been, for example, to Mariupol, to Donbass several times, and I've talked to local people there, and they claim and they say it's absolutely clear that those right-wing forces, they were killing children, old people, which were queuing up for water. Somebody's running to help a wounded person, then they just kill snipers for the fun of it. Unfortunately, that's like that, So OB, he also claims that John Trump was the president of the States, which were one of the best friends with Vladimir Zelensky, the Ukrainian counterpart or colleague. But anyway, but Trump claims that this war wouldn't take place if he was in power. He would have made deal and put people onto a ring board or table in order to negotiate on it. I don't know about that, but it's pretty clear that Zelensky was and Poroshenko very good friends with the Biden clan, with the Biden family, with Burisma, with Meta Biota, with some company of Hunter Biden even, which were in the bio industry and doing experiments on people and so on. So allegedly, the third point from Mr. Ottar from OB is that the CIA didn't want to invade Iraq, but it's pretty clear that the CIA was behind the invasion of Iraq. It was also behind the fake appearance of Colin Powell, which I mentioned. And I have no proof or information that the CIA didn't want to invade Iraq. It was even the Pentagon and those deep state authorities, they wanted to invade 7 countries in 5 years. The CIA is, of course, part of the deep state. We can remember, JFK, of course, in November 1963. And, 9/11 was quite bizarre as well. But without the CIA and those 18 security services of the USA, you wouldn't move in such a drastic plans and programs. So the last I would like to just show you small short video of Wesley Clark, where he is explaining this crazy plan of the deep state, of the government of the USA, which is, I hope, not representing all American citizens of the USA.
He pulled up a piece of paper off his desk. He said, I just got this memo from the Secretary of Defense's office that says we're going to attack and destroy the governments in 7 countries in 5 years. We're going to start with Iraq, and then we're going to move to Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. I said, 7 countries in 5 years. I said, is that a classified memo? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. He was about to show it to me. I said, because I want to talk about it. And I sat on this information for a long time, for about 6 or 8 months. I was so stunned by this, I couldn't begin to talk about it. And I couldn't believe it would really be true, but that's actually what happened. These people took control of the policy in the United States.